Hi guys, I'm back again with chapter 1, meeting, lost for words, meeting my hero. I'm gonna start out with your POV because, well, that's how I wrote it. So, well, what's going on? Where am I? I was laying on something soft, but when I opened my eyes, only to be met with a bright white light that caused me to squint my eyes. I looked around the room I was in, but I remember what happened in the alleyway. I looked in my arm to see an IV in my flesh. I heard a male voice come from the doorway. I looked up to see a man in a doctor's coat with a smile on his face. As he walked over to me, as he reached out to me, he said, "Oh, you're awake. I'm Dr. Smiley. How are you feeling?" I flinched away from his hand in fear of being hurt. He stopped coming near me and said, "Hold on. I'll call someone that you might recognize." As he left the room, a few minutes had passed by and the door opened again. As the doctor walked back into the room with someone else, he was wearing a hoodie and goggles and a mouthguard. "It's the guy from last night!" I stared at him for a little while. When he noticed I was staring at him, he waved at me and said, "It's nice to see you. See that you're awake." I wanted to say something, but I couldn't find the words to say. He smiled at me and stuttered out, "I'm Toby, and I saved you from that man in the alleyway." I reached out to Dr. Smiley's clipboard. He said, "My clipboard?" in confusion. I nodded my head, and he handed it to me. I started to write down what I wanted to say to him. My name is. Thank you for saving me." He read the paper and gave me a smile and said, "You're welcome. But can I ask you something?" I nodded my head yes and let him ask what he wanted to ask. "What were you doing in the alleyway in the first place?" I started to write down why I was there. I was trying to find a place to stay. He raised an eyebrow and curiously asking somewhere to stay. "What about your parents? Why don't you go stay with them?" I looked down and started to write. "My parents are dead. They died in a house fire last night." As he read the paper, his eyes got a hint of sadness in them, saying, I'm sorry to hear that." I shrugged my shoulders and wrote down, "Where am I exactly?" He started, you're in this slender mansion. I brought you here. You here when you passed out?" I asked, writing down my words again. So you live here?" He nodded his head, saying, "Yeah, pretty much. But you're welcome to stay here if you want." He asked, looking at the paper in my hand. "Why don't you talk to me?" I wrote down, "I haven't spoken since my parents died, and I forgot how to speak." As I looked at my hands rested in my lap, he gave me a pity look towards me, saying, I can be the one to help you find your voice if you want me to." I looked at him with tears in my eyes and asked, "Really? You would do that for me?" He smiled and stuttered, "Yeah, sure thing." Dr. Smiley, "When will she be able to be released?" Dr. Smiley said, "Well, if she will let me check her out, she can be released today." Toby nodded and went to leave the room. I reached out to Dr. Smiley, choking, saying, "It's Toby. Seems like she wants you to stay." He looked at me and I asked, "Is that what you want?" I nodded my head yes, and he walked towards the chair beside the bed, saying, "Okay, I'll stay here." I gave a smile to him. I was hesitant to let Dr. Smiley get close to my form. I flinched as his hand reached for me. I felt the hand on top of mine. I looked over to see Toby. It's okay. He won't hurt you, he said with a small smile on his face. As he held my hand, I nodded my head and let Dr. Smiley do his thing. When he was done, I was released from Dr. Smiley's care, and Toby said, let's go meet the others. And he walked out of the room. So that was chapter 1 of Lost for Words. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more. Hope to see you on the flip side. Laters.